The program is still this morning on ITV, bringing us to our first discussion segment. Of course, is to take a look at some issues in the aviation sector. And of course, your number one aviation freak, Mr. Godwin Ike, will be doing this with him. And of course, the topic is cases of in-flight theft. One of our very senior official of ITV traveled at the weekend and discovered that the issue raised while he was on board was that all the passengers should be careful with their luggage because the cases of in-flight theft is really increasing and they don't want to be held liable. And that is the crux of our matter this morning. That is what we'll be looking at this morning. And Mr. Gordon Ike is, of course, live with us. Hello, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Joe. How are you today?
I'm okay. And you, how was your weekend?
Wonderful as always, Joe. My dear viewers, good morning and welcome to the program.
Okay, now quickly, is the issue of in-flight theft. What have you got to say?
Well, Joe, life in itself is quite dynamic. There is really, nothing, static in life. And what makes a responsible quality is when you find something rearing its ugly head, you quickly devise a means of getting it in court. This is new. The time was when people who flew were honorable gentlemen and ladies who, had, self-respect and dignity. And so nobody ever, in those days thought about the possibility that somebody would get from his or her seat, reach out into the overhead luggage compartment and start rummaging, around people's, bags in the beach to steal what does not belong to him or her. And so that's where we are. Now that even pilots are making announcements and warning, passengers to watch out because the likelihood is that they're going to be, losing their personal belongings if they don't watch out. I think that's a very simple solution to that, which the airlines must, deploy immediately. They should, just like the pre-flight information as it goes on, you are told when to switch off your phones and your iPad and the rest of them. There should be a point in the same, pre-flight briefing when they should make it clear if you have anything to pick up from your baggage, do it now. After this moment, so if such a rule is put in place and practiced, it becomes impossible, even in international flights or wherever, for anyone to reach out to the luggage compartment. And then, should it be a case of emergency, for instance, you may have somebody who is sick and who wants to pick up some medications from the bag. There could be a few genuine cases. Then the rule should be that if you have such a situation, you cannot really get up the way we used to do. You call one of the air hostesses or hosts, and they help you identify your bag and watch over you what you're taking from your bag. And as soon as you're done, that's it. You go back to your seat. It's a simple solution, as the ugly ones in our midst develop, ways of embarrassing us and messing around with the system and painting a very bad picture
Now, your take is interesting, but you see, each time people travel, most people don't have the same strength in terms of inability to sleep, or inability to just, or ability to keep vigil. There are some persons that may not be, they may not be sounding well as they travel, and you know that they must take a nap. Some other persons, well, they're hale and hearty, but they just cannot do without taking a nap as they travel. And if we have a system whereby the passengers are warned to be careful with their luggage, and that if anyone luggage is missing, that they will not be held responsible, it means that it will no longer be interesting again. I mean, traveling would no longer be interesting. And as such, what, in your own opinion, should the airport authority do, NCAA, of course, should do, and the airline itself should do? Because I know if you are traveling, you must check in, and as you check in your luggages, whatever amount of bags you're carrying is tagged, your name and of course the destination. And if we have those other small ones in the flight itself, if we have those ones also tagged, don't you think it will go a long way in catching those who can't do without stealing people's property?
Joe, tagging hand baggages will be time-consuming and cumbersome for airlines. Remember, everything is structured in such a way that you do things in a timely manner. If you say you have the 7 o'clock flight, it's expected that passengers must be boarded, and at the dot of 7, your pullback is, or a few minutes to 7, by the way, you begin to have your pullback, and then the taxi, to the takeoff point. And it should be, if it were in the days that aviation had a lot of discipline. They still have in other climates. We are still struggling over
what do you mean by, hello? Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, can you explain what you mean by discipline? Those days that there was discipline in aviation.
Yeah, in our Nigerian Airways days, I remember, like I told you separately, there was a time I flew Nigerian Airways virtually fortnightly, between Lagos and London. I've told you that story before. And Nigerian Airways used to be one of the best airlines in the world with very skillful pilots. They were always on time. If you say you're taking off at 7 o'clock, as a matter of fact, a minute to 7, you're already tearing away on the runway for doing your takeoff run. Those days are gone now. These days, what do we find? You have a 3 o'clock flight. Once it's getting to 5 minutes to 3, you get an announcement that due to operational reasons, flight is being delayed for 1 hour. And sometimes those delays go on and on and on, for another 3-4 hours. And sometimes after all those delays, you encounter outright cancellation. So it's not showing that we are making progress. It's simply showing that we are going backwards and getting a little irresponsible in our activities in the sector. So we can change all those.
So how do we change all those?
Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I said how can we change it? You are a freak. You are a freak, and by virtue.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm saying that in this kind of discussion, for someone like you who is a freak, and by virtue of the ICAO forum that took place recently in Abuja, that of course declare you as an expert, it means that when we talk about some of these things, we should be expecting solution from you, because people are watching, agencies responsible are watching, and some of the things you say may just be the way out. So what's the solution of these issues that we are discussing?
Solution is about discipline and ensuring that NCAA, sit up and punish those that have unnecessarily delayed flights for their selfish, ends. And the human nature is such that if people do not pay for doing the wrong things, the likelihood is that they're going to go on doing the wrong things. And that's why I always subscribe to consequences. When people do the wrong things, ensure that there are consequences. The difference between our climate and others is that elsewhere they tell you, you can go ahead and fool around, but just be sure you don't get caught. If you get caught, you must be punished. Tell you a funny story. A relation of mine called me from the U.S. a few days ago. Here's what he said to me. That he was so broke, and that what was bugging him most was that he got a ticket from police of $200, and the payment of that money within the period that it should be regarded as a civil offense would expire at the end of January, this January. If he's unable to pay the fine of $200 before the 31st of January, it automatically becomes a criminal offense, and he might end up in jail. So he frantically began to call up relations who could just arrange to send him some cash, as he said he was totally broke. Now, Joe, imagine for 1 second that somebody got contravened by the police in Nigeria or the FRSC and issue the fine. The sort of lawless attitude that we have here, and the fact that law will not even be enforced, the person will go to sleep. Won't even bother that time is running, and I am soon going to be, playing with a chance of going to jail. Can you see the difference? But here is in Nigeria, and living another climate, having a sense of responsibility, working out a way to lay hands on $200 to pay for a fine for a little mistake he made on the highway with the police, and they stopped him and issued him a ticket of $200, and he doesn't have the money to pay, and he's worried because he issued a climate that come 1st of February it becomes a criminal offense, and there is no issue of come and pay fine anymore. They rein you in, give you a trial, and send you to jail for a few months. And then you get into your record that you're now an ex-convict. Can you see how it works? And so it gives people a sense of responsibility. Well, here, the bill says he's taken for granted. And everybody is just busy fooling around. And I keep saying we can't run our nation this way.
Yeah, but Mr. Ike, but you and I know that even if you are an ex-convict here, you are still celebrated. So what difference does it make?
So it's all part of it. It's all part of the nonsensical things that we must put to an end. I do understand that. I mean, one of the ex-governors that came home after spending time in jail in London, got the chieftaincy title, got celebrated by people, and it's such a shameless thing that's going on. But we can reverse all that. It takes a government that thinks that it should put an end to this, to begin to do what it has to do, and people will sit up. But you see, in doing it, you must be seen to be fair to all. If it becomes sectional, either by religion or by tribe or whatever, then nobody gets serious. You find a situation that me because I am not your tribe or I'm not your, in your region and stuff like that. But if we are fair to all, look out for those who are breaking our laws. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what religion, your creed. It doesn't matter your tribe. Whatever it is. Once you're found, you are punished and be seen to be punished. Joe, this country will shit up.
Okay, now.
Now, maybe in 2019 I'm going to try to see if I can get the presidential ticket and show that the president can work and get this nation working.
Okay, now still on the theft issue, the in-flight theft issue. I know in developed climes, which of you agree with me, there are cameras everywhere, and so if someone luggage is missing, they quickly go back to the camera and begin to check who carries what, and of course at what time, and who mistakenly, carries a luggage that is not his or hers. I mean, have you considered deploying that in our system here?
It's a standard that's been taken for granted elsewhere. But look around you here, Joe. We have a project of installing cameras in the streets of Abuja, for instance. I know that some very serious-minded technologies from all over the world, bidded for all those installations. But because they won't play ball, they won't engage in corrupt practices, they are not allowed in their own nation. For instance, I'll just use one organization to give you an example. IBM, that's the International Business Machines Incorporated of the United States of America, would never give anybody bribe in any part of the world, in any country. If they do, they will be punished by their own country. The U.S. government, if it ever finds evidence that they parted with money in order to get a contract, will punish them. Fine them so much that they would even almost go bankrupt. And so, they won't even discuss it. And such serious-minded organizations usually will not get business in Nigeria because those that are saddled with the responsibility, if you don't play ball, no business. And so, they give it to people who are not, qualified to get the job done well. And what we have, the kind of mess we have on our hands. How many of those cameras are, that were installed in Abuja are working today? And so it's all part of this, conspiracy that is keeping us down. We can get serious if we want Joe. It's a question of people that are saddled with the responsibility of giving services to Nigerians in terms of appointments and in terms of elective positions. Making a choice to be serious. It's about a choice. You make a choice to be serious, and you watch this nation begin to transit from the mess we are now into a more serious-minded country. It's possible, it can be done, and it's done elsewhere, and we can do it here. We just have to make a choice to begin to do what is right. That's all.
Okay, the discussion is still with Mr. Gordon Ike. He is an aviation freak, a man who, by virtue of his attendance during the ICAO forum in Abuja, was declared an aviation expert. And we'll be looking at the in-flight theft, of course, that has been happening in our sector here, where passengers are, being warned over and over again by air hostesses to be careful with their luggage, so that someone who, it will not be picked by another person. And of course, Mr. Gordon Ike is saying that we need to be disciplined, we need to go back to our old ways, we need to ensure that flights, of course, take off at the time that they are scheduled to take off. And of course, Mr. Gordon Ike, hello.
Hello, Joe.
Yeah, just before we go, is of course the issue of tackling, of course, the in-flight theft by by NCAA? Is there any role that NCAA can play? Because we all know that they are charged with ensuring security in our airports.
Well, the rule would be to assemble the airlines and then cancel the airlines on the way to ensure. I find it escapist for pilots announcing to passengers that watch out for your baggage, ensure that you're not losing personal effect, and all those stuff. You're asking those that may fall asleep, during the flight to maybe have a cup of coffee, and that will keep their eyes wide open. People walk all through the night. I've done that several times, Joe. Walking all through the night until about 4 a.m. and you jump out of your table, go have your bath, to go and catch a flight with the hope that you sit back and relax and sleep, while the flight is on. And then somebody's saying to you now, you can't even sleep. That's escapist. The airlines must take responsibility for their passengers, through a period. That is the international law. As soon as they take you in, you become their property. They must attend to you. And so it should be the job of the air hosts and hostesses to ensure that the bad and ugly in our midst do not continue by rummaging in people's bags and stealing valuables, while they are there, flying from one point to the other. And it's so easy as ABC to check, Joe.
No, but what I'm trying to get here, Mr. Aviation Freak, is the fact that some of these airlines need also to be punished, because like you said, you don't expect someone who cannot withstand an hour journey without sleeping.
That's an escapist tendency. They want to have it on record that the pilot wants that you must keep alert and don't lose your personal effect as a way of escaping responsibility should any such loss take place. You see, until we try some of these issues in court and get these people punished, nobody will get serious. Now, last week I had announced that those that were messed up by RIC should come and register with you so that we can use that as a point for our Bill of Rights. I don't know if you have received any information from any of those passengers.
None for now.
Have you? None for now.
Yes.
So you see the attitude that I told you, Joe. Nigerians are just not serious with building this nation.
But that will not. Hello. But
you take a matter to court to make a pronouncement on issue. It makes you a builder.
But that will not deter you from conscientizing the people. Someday, other persons will respond.
Well, I just hope so. I tell you, what I observe is that we are good at sitting back home and wherever we find ourselves making noise, condemning the system, and running our mouths. But that responsibility required of us to help the system work, do not carry them out. Part of that responsibility is that if you see something going on wrong and you need a court action to make a pronouncement on it and stop the nonsense, then you must make yourself available, make your time available, and possibly make your own funds available.
Yeah, but the issue.
It's part of nation building.
Yeah, but
our good nation that we're looking for what to do will never fall from the skies. Never. Manners don't fall anymore. We've got to work at it.
Well, the issue here is time. The person may just be considering the number of years that litigation may last in court.
Sorry, don't come again, Joe.
I'm talking about the time. Most Nigerians don't have that time, especially with the way cases are also delayed in court. They may just feel there's no need, because if I'm going to pursue this case, I'm going to spend time, I'm going to spend resources, and the judgment may not come as at the time I want it.
I do understand that we have challenges with our judicial system. Well, are we now saying that we are giving up on our nation because we have challenges in the judicial system? Is that what we're saying? We're now giving up on our nation? Or are you saying that because
what I'm simply saying is the notion out there in some quarters, and your, of course, job here is to make sure that that notion is changed.
Yes, that is escapist. We must build our nation. A good nation called Nigeria will never, I repeat, will never fall from the skies. We've got to work at it to create the kind of nation we are looking forward to. If we do nothing, this nation will crumble right before our eyes and under our feet, and we will all be losers. All be losers. I urge every Nigerian. Very often you hear people say, "Oh, I don't have time." Well, 1 minute, go to the gardens about 5 p.m. You find a whole lot of professionals whiling away time, drinking away their lives, and taking in a lot of cholesterol that will eventually give them heart attack. And yes, call that individual for 1 second to say, can you use this time of between 5 and 7 p.m. and go get this job done and get it out of the way? He says to you, no, I don't have time. But he has time to spend, whiling away, drinking away his life and ingesting, a whole lot of cholesterol that will give him heart attack or heart attack. You see, it's all about misplacement of our priorities.
Priority.
We misplace our priorities a lot, and it's just because we have operated a very loose and lax, system over the years, and we have a generation of, it's called unserious people. We've got to get serious.
Okay, Mr. Godwin, I must thank you for, of course, calling in to air your opinion on the incessant cases of in-flight theft in our airport. And we just hope that the NCAA, FAN, and of course the Ministry of Aviation will do something immediately to tackle this ugly trend. We must not allow it to go beyond the stage it is now. Once again, many thanks for calling in. Okay.
Thank you very much, and my great viewers, thank you for watching. I promise you, for next Monday, you will see me live